Hey everyone, just got done recording the episode with Eddie Pinero, and man, are you going to enjoy it. So many great takeaways. We had a long discussion on failure, what that means, why we should not only let ourselves fail, but make ourselves fail. And Eddie really explains that, how we need to follow our intuition and give ourselves permission to try new things, really the mindset around trying new things. And I was surprised because when I said try new things or try hard things, and I asked him, why do that? His answer was very surprising to me. So you're going to listen to that. Eddie's whole thing is your world within, and really how our mindset can impact our reality in so many ways, and how the same exact situation, the same exact event can have two very different outcomes that we can have control of. We talked about having, guilt versus providing value. And we had a discussion on really what we follow through on, or who we follow through on becoming, and how that's formed, that I thought was profound and really new to me. So a lot of great wisdom from this discussion. It's no surprise that Eddie's having such a big impact in what he's doing. So check it out. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Purpose Matrix. Very excited for today's guest, Eddie Pinero. Eddie, how are you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Phil, so awesome to be here, man.
Yeah, well, we're in for a treat today. First, I got to tell the story a little bit. And so our local CPA said, hey, you should connect with this Eddie guy. So I'm looking like, this Eddie guy is pretty legit. So I'll tell you about him here in a second. But we also both agreed, if this gets back to our local CPA, that any time charged for this or anything, we're billing it straight to that guy. So he'll know what we're talking about. There's a side joke that I won't pull you all into, but about Eddie, I mean, this guy is incredible. So international speaker, YouTuber, founder of Your World Within, which I love it. I just love everything about it. I've been listening to a lot of his different videos, podcasts, and I'll tell you, he is having an impact. More than 200 million streams worldwide. 200 million. Think about that for a little bit. 200 million. An incredible impact he's having, and his stuff is good, and it hits people. And I think it's inspiring people and making people take action in a good direction for their lives, because his mission, inspiring others to live their best lives by realizing their potential, which so often I don't think we do realize. So Eddie, if we hear about your story, a lot of your stuff, when you talk about it, is based on, I think, your experiences and kind of the mindset and the mindset growth that you've gone through. So tell me, when did this all start, and kind of how did it evolve, and even how did you evolve through that process?
Yeah. Oh man, it's been a journey. I mean, first of all, thanks for those kind words, dude. That's just really nice to hear. And yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of the process, is that I've grown with the storytelling and the content and the videos being made. Like, I'll listen to stuff, I made back in 2014. It's not that it's wrong. It's just that I'm a different person now, in a different season. And I'm like, I would have said that or portrayed that a little differently. And so you grow, and it's a testament to, that process. And you just cut me off at any time if I'm rambling here. But, it started, I've always been one of those folks, perhaps you can relate, where if I don't feel aligned or locked in, I have a hard time doing it. I have a hard time showing up. And I just felt like that in my corporate setting. I was around some amazing people, some inspiring people. I learned a lot, but there was just that thing where it's like, dude, this is just not filling the cup. And so at the time, I was simultaneously, I had a music studio at home and was playing acoustic guitar stuff, and, playing some shows around Boston and helping other songwriters write, record, produce. And I'm like, I hit a point where I'm like, let's just risk it, man. Let's just do something, follow that creative itch, do something meaningful. And so, I left the corporate world and was just playing shows around Boston, and everything, blogging, creative writing, taking the video camera out, making short films. And it was like two things happening at once, which this is not going to be a surprise to anybody. You get the excitement of creating, but also for the first time, you get the pressure now of okay, well, that bank account's dwindling. And that makes it a lot more real, a little more fun. You understand the stakes. And I wrote a speech about it, called Ode to Excellence, that was let yourself fall. I've always been so conservative with, my outlook on life. And I've always just done what I was supposed to do. And the whole get good grades to get a good job, to get a promotion, to, and it's try. Worst comes to worst, you fall and you look like an idiot. Your friends laugh. You pick up the pieces and you go. who cares? And so I wrote this speech, and it just was this amazing outlet. Had an amazing time doing it. I could compose the background music, I could make the video, and I could also write script and tell the story. So like creatively it was there. It felt meaningful. And then just as important, I'm getting messages from people saying, hey, this changed the way I think about life. Like this really helped me. Thank you. And so that's where it's like, when you're loving it and people are telling you it's adding value, that's your indicator. So that was sort of the inception of the brand and what I do now.
So first of all, I really like the word align, because I think just so often I think all of us our natural inclination might be to do things out of alignment with who we really are. But also I love the phrase, let yourself fail. I would even say, if I'm a little bolder, like put yourself in positions, you're not trying to fail, but make yourself fail by taking so much action that you're going to fail at something and be completely okay with it, right? You're not trying to, but I think failure is such an important part of growth. So as my question is, as you've kind of evolved, and that was such a big event, right? And such a big hurdle. What did you learn from that? But more importantly, like, how are you applying that today, right? If we fast forward, like, you have a lot figured out. Your content's great. By the way, let me say this quick. Eddie has a unique way of not just having inspiring speeches, but also bringing in the creative side, of music and sound and other things to make phenomenal videos, which is an addition, like not just his thoughts in psychology are impactful, but also he has the whole package. But how are you applying that today? Where are you risking failure today, maybe?
Yeah, I appreciate that again. So much of it's unlearning, right? It's like the things that you're scared to do are the most important things to do. Like since I was a kid, I had to know. Even in high school, it's like, what do you want to major in first day in college? It's like, how the hell would I know? Or no one does, right? Or like, what do you want to do outside of school? If you don't have a plan, then you're losing. And it's like, no, exploring, not recklessly, but following intuition and trying things was one of the most important things that I've ever done. And I always preach to people the J.R.R. Tolkien quote, not all who wander are lost. If I didn't give myself that permission to try, I'd still be in the same place. And I think we have to give ourselves that freedom to experience that. And it comes with a cost and there's friction. And I think that's like, I was surprised how much my ego kicked back. I always tell the story of just simply going into a bar with some buddies on a Friday night, single, trying to meet girls. And the first thing they ask you is like, well, what do you do? And I would just dread that question. I'd be like, I can't believe I'm in this spot where I'm like freaking out about that or worried about that. Well, I have a great YouTube idea. Like it's just not cool. But the saying goes, like where you least want to go, you most need to. And so it's a good reminder now because, you take some risks, but the ceiling becomes the floor. You get complacent. And it's that whole, okay, well, now go back out into the wilderness. It's this constant cycle of death and rebirth that, both in the micro and macro, in how I'm branding, how I'm telling my story, how I'm living my life. It's a lot of self-reflection. But I think that's the stuff that we miss. And it's how, by the way, so many of us stay in the same place, a place we don't want to be for years and years and years. You're not having the conversations with yourself and you're not taking action. So it's a lot of self-reflection still, and hopefully for the rest of my life.
How did you get over the ego kickback? So, because I look at this as like there's the heart and the mind conflict too, which is probably a whole other discussion we'll get into after, but the ego of what am I doing? What do people think I'm doing? Am I doing it for the right reasons? And, but you're also, because you're worried about that, but you're also, you said early on, starting to get feedback on the impact of it. So you're kind of got these two different elements, conflicting things coming at you.
Yeah. I mean, so the funny thing is the ego, it doesn't go away. Like it's still, the same stuff still hurts the same way. But I think what I've gotten or improved the ability to do is recognize it and move on despite it. Like it's like, I know what's best for me, and I know what's best for my family and the people I love. And so I'm going to do what I think is right. I forget who told me this, but there's this whole like bedside hospital bed metaphor where it's like, if you're in a hospital bed, God forbid, right? It's kind of a morbid metaphor, but like, you don't have much time left. Who's going to be around that table with you? Who's going to be around the hospital bed, holding your hand and, with you through it? I can think of a handful of people, but it's like, outside of that, who cares? Why should any of it matter? And so I think that first and foremost is like, we place a lot of emphasis on just means nothing. And life is very simple when we allow it to be. What matters to us, and what are we doing to create what matters to us? And again, this is not like it's not like something you learn and it's done. It's like a constant conversation you have to have with yourself. But that's what I cling to, that formula. Eddie, what in your life is meaningful? What matters? What are you trying to do here? And then what'd you do today to bring that to life? Because people are going to talk. People are going to turn on you. Even it doesn't matter how nice you are or what you do. People will turn your back and walk away. And, humans are humans. But if you're doing what you think matters, the rest of the stuff tends to fall off,
And I think having the like macro awareness of that is what gets you out of the micro incidences of frustration where it's like, I'm worried about this person or that person, what they think, because I like that because that's going to happen to you, but you have to have you have to understand the bigger picture and the real why to get you through those moments of frustration or negative feedback, whatever it might be. So first of all, your world within. So is your world within, is that our minds? Is that the heart? What is that? Just tell me more about it. Like, what does that mean to you?
It's the idea that our external world starts internal and is projected out. So like, it's like the same stimulus can be interpreted and produce wildly different consequences from two different people. It's one of my favorite stories is Jim Rohn's story about the two brothers with like I don't know if you've heard it, the abusive father. And it's like, these kids are, he's drunk all the time, beats his kids. They just come from a childhood that's hell, right? And so they go off into the world, and one of the brothers, has kids and a family, and it's just this incredible role model, loving father, there for his family, everything good. And the other one is abusive, just like his father was. And when they're asked about it, the abusive one's like, of course this is how I am. Like, do you see the childhood that I endured and what I came from? And when they ask the one who is a great father, he says, yeah, of course this is how I am. Do you see the childhood I came from? You think I'm going to subject my kids to that, right? And so like that in a nutshell is the crux of your world within. It's like your thoughts become your reality. And sometimes it requires work. It's not easy, right? It's like, obviously, but I think we have more control and power over our outlook and how we see things than we give ourselves credit for. And it's just a perspective shift to remind us that we're in the driver's seat with so many things.
Yeah, and what I like about that is we don't control what happens to us, but we control the perception of what happens to us, right? We control how we see that, and we don't completely control all of our outcomes, but we can control how we see outcomes. We definitely control what we do, right? But we like our perception is the reality, and it's such a great story and quote. And so to have the right perception or the best perception that we can, and one of your, or I think maybe your single biggest video, like focus your mind. So talk me through how do you frame things? Maybe if they're seemingly negative things, even how are you focusing your mind and framing things?
You seek the value, right? So it's like, even when, and I'm human, we all are, we're emotional. It's like, fine, right? You feel how you feel, sit with it, understand it, But I feel like there's always that fork in the road, that sort of crossroads where it's like you can sulk in this and let it pull you down, or you can find the value. Because oddly enough, there's value in everything. And what I've found in my life is some of the darkest things end up giving you the most and helping you the most. And so to me, it's like this stuff's hidden in plain sight. Like, do you have your feelers out? Like, from every aspect of life, a relationship falls apart, a romantic relationship, you're devastated, right? But what can we learn? How can I be better in choosing a partner? How can I show up better? How can I mitigate some of those things? I know what to look for now. I know how to, improve myself in certain areas, or a business deal that goes wrong. It's like sometimes just understanding that life goes on and it's going to be okay is in and of itself a victory. So there's always something to become armor. I think you do have to train yourself to see it, because it's just not intuitive. When you get your ass kicked, it's not like, oh, great, where's the W there? But if you let it subside and you learn to start looking for that, you'll find it. You always find what you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, and I think how I think about this, as you said, it is we are so clear on our past from years ago. Like, we can see, it's played out over time, so it's become more clear to us. Whereas our recent past or current events, like, we can't get out of it. Like, we're just stuck in it. We're so in it that we don't have clarity as to why this happened, what this means. But we'll probably gain that over 5 or 10 years. So the key is, I think in the recent past, we have to have the understanding that, look, there's a reason for this. I'm going to learn from this. Like, this is a growth opportunity. I don't know what it all is yet, but I have to be content knowing that I'll figure that out later. Because I think the other thing we do is, because like we have like recency bias, now we're focused on that. And therefore, to go back to the earlier discussion, a lot of times this recency bias is, I think, limiting us from taking actions on things that we want to do, because we're creating all these problems in our head for what we might do and the issues we might have. But again, if the longer we go back, we're going to get clearer on those problems were opportunities. But if we go back to yesterday's problems, like, oh crap, this is horrible, I don't want to create more problems, right? It's frustrating, it's stressful. So how do we take this and let it guide our actions?
It's funny. There's this idea like the wake of the boat doesn't drive the boat. And this is another, like, I don't mean to just philosophize, but it's like a big picture. It's an awareness thing. When I left the corporate world, this is so funny to say, because it's been a long time now. It's been like 10 years. But I remember jogging at noon, or like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and just feeling this massive guilt. And it's like, I can't be jogging now. Like, this is when people are working, right? It's like you have to sort of unlearn that and realize that you are not who you were yesterday. In a weird way, Essentialism by Greg McKeown talked about this, like minimalizing your life in the sense of like literally cleaning out your closet, removing things that aren't important. And sometimes when you remove that clutter, it makes it a little easier, but yeah, like, you are like, one of our greatest superpowers as human beings is like, we can wake up and live an entirely different life than we have every day before then. There's dissonance in our brain. And that pushes back. There's friction, but we can. And I think understanding that and start taking those little steps is like, that's the beginning of any change.
Yeah, I love the wake analogy too, because you probably know the quote, but like, the boat isn't built to stay at harbor. It's built for these types of situations. It's built to go out and do things. But you talked about guilt and the guilt you had when you were running middle of the day, like, because society said that we should be working from this time to this time every single day, and you had guilt. So the other topic you talk about in some of your videos is you're valuing yourself and giving yourself the grace, and the opposite of feeling guilty in a way. So how do we reframe this guilt? How do we think about this differently?
Yeah, I mean, the guilt was like, it was about letting my friends and family down. Like I didn't want to feel like a loser, which is just to be blunt was like my biggest thing. I mean, you're in your mid-20s, thinking you're taking over the world. All of a sudden you have no identity, no purpose. You're restarting. Like that's heavy. But, you said it, a few sentences ago. It's like you have to trust the unknown in the process. And it's almost like learning to do that. Not only is it okay, it's required. And so now that a decade's gone by, I'm looking around. You walk down the street, you look at a business, a car, anything, and whoever brought that to life walked down that same path. They were at one point, no one was patting them on the back and saying, hey, great dream, it's going to come to fruition. No, it means nothing. The weight of the world's on you. People don't understand. At best, they don't understand. They criticize at worst, right? So it's like you really learn to trust yourself because people don't pick you up and carry you through that valley of despair. It's something that you have to move through. And so, again, hopefully in 10 years, the conversation, I can give you more things and more insights, but the same premise should apply where it's like, I'm bold enough to jump into arenas and play the student and be okay not knowing and be humble enough to say, I'm going to get my ass kicked for a little bit. But when I figure this out, I'm going to leave better than I came in. So it's risk, it's trade-off, but you have to trust yourself. And that's more than anything else that's what this has been a journey of. Learning to trust myself, and I think, to build a media company, to be someone who can show up and talk. And yeah.
Well, and I think if you look back, 10 years, whenever you left your corporate job and you started, just being on the road and all the uncertainty, the other thing I like to talk about is we frame, like you were worried about, what is my job? What do I tell people? Do I have money? Are people going to think I'm a loser? Right? Those are words. Those are the things you said. And to me,
sure,
it's so easy for us to understand the risk or the downside or what other people will think. Like that's where we go. But I maybe you had the vision for where you are today, but I would speculate that you had no idea that you were going to be at 200 million streams here a decade later. So while you can a lot of times understand the downside, we got to go into it because we don't really know where we're going or what the upside is. Like it's just hard to put our minds around that. Like we look at what we think we can measure as the upside, but we can't really see that far out. Even if we want to put on a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year vision, 50-year, whatever it is, it's so hard for us to grasp that, but it's easy to grasp the downside. So is it anything like you thought a decade ago?
Man, that is such a good question. It started saying no to the things I didn't like. And that in itself is a victory, right? Because it opens space for the stuff that you do. But it's, a constant bending and weaving and evolving. I'm always adjusting. When I started this YouTube channel, I was writing 3-minute speeches, composing the background music. They were like a song, right? That was the idea, with like a crescendo at the end. And I've come a long way. Like my most viewed stuff is 3 hours now. It's a lot more story based. And so, yeah, there's been a ton of evolution. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it'll continue to evolve. But you have to understand that. One of my good friends, Evan Carmichael, I'll never forget. He's like, if you can tell someone your 5-year plan, you're not thinking big enough. And at first that took me a second because I'm like, are you advocating for shooting targets in the dark? And I don't think that's it. I think the point is, if you do what you love and you continue to push boundaries and evolve, who knows where life can take you? So that's kind of the idea. And I appreciate that and sort of made that the motto. Do what you love, adjust, pivot, serve people, and, enjoy the ride.
So you said something a little bit ago that I want to come back to. And you said you were worried about, I think it was tied to fear, but your identity, your purpose. How do you think about, do you think about those terms, I guess, and how, if so?
Do I think about identity?
Yeah. Identity, purpose. Like, how do you, let's start with identity. Like, how do you think about what your identity is?
I do. I think it's, well, a simple quote, people follow through on who they believe themselves to be. Right. So, the best way I can put it is no one who thinks they're a smoker and identifies themselves as a smoker is going to quit smoking. That's just the way it is. And so how you see yourself is what you will become. You will follow through on those things. And so that's why, identity does matter. And it's like, what is the North Star? And it's like, well, to become a modern day Emerson, which just sounds outrageous, right? But you plant that seed and then you fill in the gaps. And that's, you aim high. So yeah, I think that's absolutely critical. How you see yourself, everything sort of starts there.
And then, and I love your purpose, which is honestly, it's inspire others and have an impact and make them become basically, I'm going to rephrase it because I don't have it in front of me, but the best version of the best they can be, and help them achieve their potential. Because I think there's a belief from you and me alike that so many of us we can't understand what our potential is. And we're never going to achieve the full potential, I don't think, but we certainly have to be clear on what we think that is, I believe, and going after it, especially around something that we love and we enjoy.
The idea with purpose and why I love to do this is like, I do think the concept you're always one decision away from a totally different life is one of the most important things to understand. When I look at like the massive change in my life from a business standpoint, a production standpoint, the people I'm around, like it was never some crazy formula or some larger than life, miracle it's just a tiny adjustment. It's like looking at things a little bit differently. There's the answer. Let's try that. That worked. Let's duplicate that. He's great. Invite him to be in your life more. She's awesome. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like, there are certain things where we don't realize how close we are to transformation because we're looking at the top of the mountain and not each little step that needs to, that we need to take to get there. And so that, if I had to sum up everything in a nutshell, that's what it is. To gift people with that perspective shift, just in an array of stories and, poems or however the ideas are getting out there.
Yeah. And it's the one step in a different direction is such an incredible one because, if I'm in Ohio and I take a step west versus if I turn and take a step south, I'm either going to be in Phoenix or I'm going to be in Florida. It's dramatic over the course of time, right? In a year from now, I'm not in that much of a different place maybe, but in 10, 20, 30 years, I am in a completely different place in my life. So those steps and those transitions are so important. You're going through one right now you talked about, and you're pivoting, and you're really, you've always been an athlete, always focused some on athletics, but you're really digging into endurance athletes, which I told you a little bit before, but I'm exploring this a little bit. I did a half marathon last year. Like I'm just testing myself. But in a prior discussion, I just said how, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours, endurance athletics is all about mindset. I mean, there's clearly physical elements of it, but every single component of it comes back to your world within, because your mindset to get up and I'm going to train every day. I'm going to go, run a little bit longer. I'm going to go run a little bit harder. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to be disciplined about what I eat is all back to the mind, right? And then even in the race itself, how am I controlling my mind? And I think what you're doing is trying to help provide content while people are doing this to control their world within, if you will, to control their mind. So tell me why the shift and what makes you excited about it.
Yeah. Oh man, it's sure. It's one is like to stay excited, right? To continue to push out into the world, do hard things, and, continue to, push boundaries, because that's where the stories and the inspiration comes from. I've always been a runner, and, I run just sort of for fun and obviously to stay in shape, marry it to some lifting and gym stuff. But like the question remains, like, why couldn't I be a 1% endurance athlete? And it costs a lot, right? That's metaphorically, it's expensive. It's a lot of time and energy and discipline, but why not go down that hill? And it matches what I'm talking about every day, just at a different intensity. And so it's another opportunity for me to walk the walk and, just really push myself. And so that was kind of the idea, to kind of show that process simultaneously with the stories and the speeches and things I'm learning, as I'm going through it. I do think endurance, I was a D1 athlete in college. It is the most important thing I took away from that 4 years, and nothing else is even close. Just what I learned rowing. And I like to tell this story because it was just kind of like a wake up moment for me, being a walk-on as a freshman on the rower. I mean, we were, especially in Worcester, Massachusetts, that's where we are. We're on those rowing machines every day, sometimes twice a day for the majority of the year. And we're doing a 2K test on the machine. And I just remember suffering and just feeling so bad for myself. I was new to the team, thinking about my buddies in the dorms having a beer. And I'm like, I don't need to be here. Why am I here? Right? Feeling like a hero on this machine pulling through. And I'll never forget the freshman coach walking up and looking at the screen and going, you need to go faster. I'm like thinking to myself, what do you mean? Right? Like, look how bad this hurts. And he walks around, he comes back, looks at the screen again. And he's like, dude, I don't know what you need to do, but figure it out, because the guy at Georgetown, in Harvard, in Wisconsin, they're hurting just like you, but they're figuring out how to be faster than this. And I was like, dude, like that's the whole life, saying like, because it's hard doesn't mean anything. Because you feel sorry for yourself doesn't mean anything, right? The mountain is just the mountain. It just is. And so it's like what we were talking about a while ago. It's like you get to internalize that. Same thing in the middle of a run when you're hurting. It's like you learn that the pain is the pain. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to push through, or are you going to let it define you? And those things obviously translate one-to-one with so many things in life. And so I've always had this sort of soft spot in my heart for endurance sports, for athletes, kind of pulling those moments out and saying, no, there's something magical about that. This is a blueprint for how to live life.
Who is who's your guy or girl? Like when you look at endurance athletes, I mean, there's some incredible ones out there. Who's your person?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be cliche, but it's probably Goggins,
Okay.
I think Cam Hanes is a monster as well, but I'm just, just anything that reminds you how hard you can go. Relentless by Tim Grover. It's one of the best books I've ever read, because he was the trainer for Kobe and Jordan. I don't know if you've read this. He just gives you an inside look at how they think about things, and oh, dude, it'll change your life. I mean, it's one of the few books I've read like 4 times. But you don't understand the level of commitment required for greatness, in my opinion, until you read that book. It's like, oh, that's what these guys are willing to sacrifice. Got it. It's a lot.
So as you transition and you focus a little bit more on endurance athletics, and I even told you this, that when I was training, I was looking for, there's got to be some sort of video, audio, something I can listen to while I'm running. And I didn't find anything, but if you put focus on that specifically, I think there's an opportunity or a market for that for sure. I'm sure you see that too. But as you look forward and what you're going to be doing, kind of as you make this transition, what is going to be the key thing that you need to stay focused on, that you need to do to be successful in that?
The way I see it is authentic storytelling. It's truly practicing what you preach. It's putting yourself in hard situations, whether it's in the business, the media, the content creation world, or it's out, doing rim to rim to rim on the Grand Canyon, or 100-miler, or CrossFit, whatever it is, and taking those little pieces and sharing them with the world, inspiring others. It like all goes back to that point. Like, people are so much closer than they think and have so much more power and control than they think. But it's just that little reminder. So to me, success is to continuously dive into those moments personally, to challenge myself, to capture them with video and in story and share them with others so that they can, be inspired to go be better than they were the day before.
Can you tell me a little bit about the psychology? First of all, I love the authenticity because I think we're missing a lot of authenticity in our world. And I think if you're putting authentic, real things out there based on what you're going through and experiencing, I think there's just a connection and you draw from that. But doing hard things, I mean, this has been referenced, but tell me about, so my son and I, like we're doing a father-son hike here in 6 weeks from now. And it's going to, it's nothing. Well, I don't know yet. Maybe I will struggle with it, but it's in Colorado. We're climbing a couple of mountains. He's 9 years old, but I want to test his grit, test his toughness, mine as well. And develop that. What is the psychology? Tell me the psychology of doing hard things, even physically, but what does that do for you kind of holistically?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the answer is simple. I don't know what a psychologist would say to this, but to me, the value is this, right? So I was just hiking up Piestewa with a friend, or I should say rucking, had a ruck on. And it's taxing, obviously, going uphill with a ruck. But what it does is it gives you gratitude and appreciation for the baseline. Because generally, you don't think anything about the absence of pain, the absence of discomfort, right? Until you're hiking up a mountain with the backpack. And then there happens to be this little 10-foot stretch of flat ground. And you go, oh, it almost feels like reprieve. It's like, thank you, God, for this. This is incredible. And then you start climbing again. And to me, so it helps generate that perspective and build appreciation for, those moments where things are going right. I used to look at life. This is one of the first speeches I wrote as well. And it really connected with people is life for me was things are going perfectly. And then there's an issue and it's, oh my God, there's an issue. This is, and I've sort of learned to flip that where it's life is an obstacle course. There's difficulties, there's curveballs, there's things that are sad. There's things that are hard. It's not a referendum on you. Life is just an innately difficult thing. That's okay. So you toughen yourself up to handle that. And then those stretches where things are going great, you appreciate it. You understand the beauty. You're grateful. And so to me, that's what those hard things do. It toughens you up. Absolutely. But it gives me gratitude for the absence of the discomfort, which I never would have had.
You know what? I love it. And I asked the question expecting the toughens you up answer for everything else. And I agree with you. That's true. I had not heard the gratitude and appreciation before, and it makes so much sense. And I think it's not even, I don't think it's the flat ground. It's gratitude there, but it's also when I'm just living life, those hard things or the hard things I did right now. Okay. It gives me general gratitude and appreciation too. So I had not heard that before. I was expecting the toughen up answer. And that's why I'm doing it with my son. But man, I hope that that's true. And I think it is, the gratitude and appreciation. So that's great insight. Eddie, this has been awesome. We could go on for a long time here. You're not a self-proclaimed psychologist, but you've been studying psychology yourself and others, I think, for a long time. I think we can relate in just being interested in that. If you step back and reflect, how does what you do, how does what you've done, what you're doing, how does it make you feel?
Deeply proud. For personal reasons, in the overcoming and, like anyone who's built anything, it's been a rocky, difficult road. But also to get to help people at scale. It'll bring tears to your eyes. Some of the emails and just people reaching out. It's just, I don't take it for granted, so it's, I think proud is the best way to put it.
I like asking that question because I just want to convey, if you're listening to this, how do you feel? And are you going after it? Are just all the things that Eddie said throughout the discussion, if you're afraid to do it or you don't want to do it, you probably need to do it. You probably need to test yourself. I mean, Eddie took a big jump. I took a different approach. I had to have everything figured out for several years. And then I took the jump. But whatever that is for you, it's a side hustle. It's doing something in a different area of life in a different way. Just you name it. Are you going after it? Are you doing it? Because I think the feeling you can have if you do the right things can be so impactful. So Eddie, I appreciate it so much. How can people find out more about you and everything, all the great stuff that you're doing?
Man, I guess just joining checking out the podcast or the YouTube channel, which is the same thing, and just sharing your thoughts. I love to connect with folks and hear what your takeaway is. And I'm Eddie Pinero, the Your World Within podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Come follow along.
And I will say this, that if you get up and you're like, it's going a little bit slow and you want to get it going, this is a good way to get it going. Listen to Eddie before you listen to me, but listen to both of us. But seriously, in the morning, like he'll get you going. He'll get you thinking. He'll get you in the right state of mind to tackle your day in a great way. So Eddie, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. For the Purpose Matrix, signing off.